Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Vitality Health Show. I am your host, Stephanie Parrish, along with my co-host, Doug Crockett, and we are the voice of hope, healing, and miracles. And good morning, Doug. Welcome.
Good morning, Stephanie. It's a great day. How are you?
It is a beautiful day, and we've got a great show coming ahead of us. But before we do that, we first want to thank our sponsors. And first of all, we want to thank the Mindful Lab. Christine there is absolutely amazing, and you can find her at mindfullab.net. Also, Sunshine Family Hemp, Nature's Side of Health. Find them at sunshinefamilyhemp.com. Their hemp is amazing. Their CBD. We have just, both Doug and I use it, and it's amazing. Also, we want to welcome Oils by Ellie. There's an oil for that. You can find that, and that is the wonderful essential oils. And that is oilsbyellie@gmail.com. We also want to invite you to check out Doug's very own channel on his YouTube channel, and that is called Miracles When Heaven Touches Earth. And it is absolutely phenomenal. He's had just some beautiful, beautiful shows on there. And I think, Doug, remind me, are you at 40?
Yeah, we've crossed 40. We're on our way to 50. So, yep, we just keep on moving.
It's amazing. So if you get a chance, go on YouTube and watch his videos. They are so wonderful. And a lot of our guests that we have on come from his shows, and we're so wonderful to be able to do this back and forth. So without further ado, we have got one of our favorite couples on today, and I'm going to turn that over to Doug so he can do that introduction. You guys are going to love this show, so get your pen and paper ready, because you're going to want to be able to reach out to them and talk to them when this is finished. It's going to be a fun show. We're excited about this.
It is. Thank you. We're very privileged to have Jeff and Kathy Teichert with us today on the show. I appreciate personally having them on. I've known Jeff for going pre-high school, way back to junior high.
Careful with the years.
Won't give any years. Jeff and I are still 25, so what can we say? But
right.
So I've been a friend of Jeff's for a long time, and I'm grateful that our paths have crossed again. So he and Kathy are with us, and we talked about my miracle station, and they've had some wonderful miraculous experiences in their life as well, particularly with their courtship and the things that they're now pursuing with their being able. They've written a book about this now for Lily, Love in Later Years. We're privileged to have them with us now. And so Jeff and Kathy, welcome.
Thank you, Doug.
Wonderful to have you guys here. So we're excited to hear your stories, the miracles that happened in your stories. So we just go ahead and leave it to what you like to do. And Stephanie, anything else you'd like to add?
I tell you, it was so fun when I was calling these guys and talking on the phone, and they're like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "This is at the exit." Just turn, hurry, get off. We're right there. It was so awesome. So I did. I took the next exit. I mean, I think I crossed over 4 lanes to get off the next exit. But like, wait, everybody, I got to turn. But we had a great time at their house and got to get a copy of their book, which they're going to talk about. And those of you in video land, I'm holding it up right now, and it is called Intentional Courtship, and they will be talking about that in a little bit, but I brought it so I could hold it up because we've been having fun reading it. It's a great book. So anyway, okay. Stop talking, Stephanie. Turn it back over to you guys. We'd love to hear your story. So who gets to go first?
You bet.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about my story in the context sort of how some of my greatest blessings have come from what I thought were tragedies. And it begins back in 2006. I lost an election where I was running for the Washington State Court of Appeals. I'm an attorney. And that seemed a relatively successful law firm that I built from scratch. That kind of went under. I was affected deeply by the 2008 recession. And I lost my marriage as part of that whole series of events, and our house got foreclosed. So it was one big devastating thing after another. And I tried several things over the next few years, and nothing really worked. I felt really stuck in the mud. And part of it was I was just depressed. I mean, for 4 years, I woke up every day feeling like I'd been kicked in the stomach, and I carried that pain around all day long, and I took it to bed every night.
Gee,
And I mean, it was an actual physical pain.
certainly. Wow.
So I couldn't really move forward. I felt like I was constantly spinning my wheels. I tried several different things to get my career back on track. Nothing was working. And then at the new year, going into 2012, I was driving my kids back to their moms in Washington, where we had just spent the Christmas holidays, and it was New Year's Eve. And I pulled off at the Flying J truck stop. And when I came out and got in my car, it wouldn't start.
No.
And I tried all the things you normally try, cleaned the battery posts, jumped it, everything that I knew how to do, and none of that worked. And we called a mechanic, and I mean, it's New Year's Eve, so it was a miracle that there was even somebody around.
Right.
He was actually a tow truck driver. He said, "I'm not an expert, but I think your timing belt's probably gone. So you're gonna have to figure out what to do,
And that's
because
big.
nobody's going to be at work within the next 4 days. So, basically you need to figure out what you're going to do from here." And I was really depressed. I spent that night on the floor of the Flying J truck stop, the floor of the truckers lounge, with my two kids. And I knew I only had, $200 or $300 in my checking account. And I knew I didn't have the money to fix the car, and nobody was going to be around to fix it for a while. And I really felt stranded and stuck. And I'm just laying there on the floor feeling the worst shame of my life. Well, I mean, ultimately we got that taken care of. I borrowed some money from my folks to fix the car, and they loaned me an old car to get the kids back to school on time. And so that all worked out. But I remember feeling so low about that. It was kind of like Scarlett O'Hara, "With God as my witness, I'll never be hungry again." And then a year later, around the new year, I began reflecting on this experience and realizing that my life wasn't very different. And it really bothered me. And so I did a lot of praying, and ultimately the answer I got was, you are meant to shine, not to hide your light under a bushel. And I realized that even though I was working and I was trying to build a business, I was hiding. I didn't want to see people. I wasn't out and about doing things. Well, I made a very bold Facebook post about a particular area of the law that I was good in. And that led to a career opportunity. And I went to Texas for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And so things in Texas started to improve. I had a little money in my pocket. I was paying some debts off. I was starting to get more ahead than behind, and I remarried. And I thought things were going pretty well. Then in a 2-month period, I got laid off from my corporate job. I failed the Texas bar exam by 1 point. And my car died, or was in the process of dying. And for various reasons, I chose to end my second marriage. And so I had all of that going on when I came back to Utah the last time. And my stress index was enough to crash a computer.
Right. Right.
Plus, I had just got custody of my youngest son, and he was having some issues that I won't go into publicly, but I had that to deal with as well. So I was in a pretty low point. Now, this is where I met Kathy. That's the situation I was in. I was broke. I didn't have a business. I didn't have a job. And I was couch surfing at my parents' house while I was trying to get a business up and running. And
wow.
Thankfully, Kathy didn't just dismiss me out of hand. I told her all of this on the very first date. And I also told her, I am not in a position to get serious with anyone right now. I mean, it could develop over time, but I've got to get back on my feet. And that is the situation when we met, from where I was. And I can go further, but maybe you want to save that for the next segment. I'm not sure.
That sounds like it was very truthful. That's a step of faith to tell on a first date. Well, this is where I really am, and that's rough. Yeah, I can.
Well, you
understand.
might as well, because if it's going to go to some place, it's going to go. If it's not, it's not. So it's like,
Right.
you may run. Do it now.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, Kathy, let's go. Let's hear your side of the story. What your side of the story? That's not really good, right? What happened in your situation?
I was married 14 years to the father of my 2 boys, and we got divorced in August of 2012. Yes, August of 2012, and that was just a few days shy of our 14-year anniversary. And I always thought that was interesting, the timing of it, just that how it was the same week. I also had the notice that it was final hand delivered to me by our mail person, which like never happens.
Oh my.
I just happened to be outside.
Really?
And they handed it to me personally.
Oh my.
Wow.
The final.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So I guess I want to tell a little bit of a story intertwined with this. Jeff talks about the pain he felt in his stomach for 4 years.
Right.
And for me, it wasn't for that long, but it was a very, very intense pain in my heart, in my chest area, where I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I remember once kneeling down and saying, I don't know how a person can live through this pain.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Really?
Like, I just didn't even know it was humanly possible to feel that much pain and live through it.
Oh my goodness.
So for me, it was very, very intense.
Holy cow.
And then it was an overall anxiety and stress becoming a single mom and trying to figure out my life.
Very different.
You know, and it's interesting that because the stories that I tell myself now about the situation are different than when I was in it. And so I'm trying to convey to the listeners the best I can what I thought at the time. I thought my life was over. I felt really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I did get stuck. I got pretty stuck because I'd been married most of my entire adult life. I'd got married at 19. I'd never, been a single adult after that. And I think I did finish my college degree after we got married, but I'd only had 1 year of college before I got married. And so I really didn't have a lot of adult, singleness. And then all of a sudden to do that with 2 kids, I didn't get married to get divorced. That's something we hear a lot of people say.
Right.
And that's definitely how I felt. I didn't get married to get divorced, and I didn't sign up for being a single parent.
Sounds like your your life gets turned upside down on a pin. It's like, what do I do now with this? It's almost like, and it's interesting that you both have physicalness. Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
There's a lot of people that are in that situation.
Yeah.
Well, and then on top of it, you're supposed to make all these decisions legally about how you share time with the kids, how you split money. How do you do that when your brain and your heart is just so wildly out of control?
Right.
I honestly don't know how I did it. I mean, it was really hard. And we call it something, because we see this in other people, and it's like kind of a deer in the headlights look, kind of like just a shock that you almost wear for like maybe 6 months or something.
Right.
And that pain, even though we might experience in different places in the body, we call it the ache. And anyone who's been through a divorce knows the ache.
That's a good description.
We should add to that too. There's actually scientific evidence on this. They've looked, Michelle Weiner Davis talks about this, that they've done functional MRIs on people that are going through an unwanted divorce, and the same areas of their brain light up as the areas of people who are in physical pain.
Interesting.
And so rejection actually hurts. I mean, no other emotion is like that. Depression's not like that. Sadness is not like that. You go down the list of anger is not like that. When it comes to feeling rejected, the same areas in the brain light up as people that are actually in pain, physical pain.
Wow.
That's very good. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that's really good.
Yeah, it
Well,
was physically painful.
It was physically painful
Yeah.
for both of us.
Yeah, we do know that when you are going through emotion will manifest in the physical. So
Right.
Sure.
things start to happen to your body. They're like, where's that coming from? I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, or I'm overeating, or I can't, you just can't function, because that emotional trauma will manifest in the physical. And that's what happens when you go through this. I know, been there, done that, but it is
Yeah.
really tough. So go ahead, Kathy.
Well, so I didn't know how to be alone. I had developed some codependent patterns, both as the daughter of an addict and the wife of an addict. And a lot of those addictions were secret, and they weren't anything I really even knew I was taking part in. Codependency can develop in a person when they don't even know that dynamic is happening. And so I had to learn more about that and figure out ways to overcome it. And I know for me at first, I thought, well, this is his problem. This is not my problem. And so I didn't take ownership and responsibility for my own healing because I put it outside myself. And I've since realized that that was a big mistake, that no matter who's responsible or who we think is responsible for something that's created a problem for us, we ultimately are the ones that have to be willing to do the healing steps.
Well
Yeah,
said.
even if you don't think it is your fault, it is definitely your problem.
Interesting. Well said.
So true. So true.
Yeah. So because I was so codependent, I ended up in the next relationship that came along. And it was a blessing in a lot of ways, because I learned a lot about energy work and energy healing through his family. And I've done a lot of delving into that realm since. And it helps me in our coaching practice now to help others to heal faster and better than they might on their own. And so for me, that second marriage was part of my healing process. And it wasn't what I intended. I went into it fully committed, but in this case, I ended up experiencing some emotional trauma. And I actually, let's see, let me, I'm trying to just decide what I want to say here.
Okay.
Because I know the history of my former spouses, I think a lot of them in a lot of ways. My first husband's a very good dad. He's a very involved father to our two boys. And my second husband has a really sincere, caring heart. He just had a hard time managing his emotions. And so, and when he would get upset, it would be everyone else's fault, and he didn't know how to stop. And anyway, I over time figured that it wasn't going to get better, not because I can't be responsible for someone else.
Right.
And so I took myself out of that situation, and that felt very empowering, because this time it was my choice. With my former spouse, we'd both made some bad choices. And I had, well, at least I thought I had chosen to forgive and move on. But when the roles were reversed and I was acting out of pain and frustration, he didn't want to do the same. And I think in a lot of ways, we both weren't very forgiving or accepting. I think we did a lot of judging. I think we did a lot of, we just had a lot of negativity that we spewed at each other. And this is where I learned a lot of my own role in the problem. And then when and I did feel abandoned. I felt rejected. I felt all of that. And then after my second marriage, and it became a fairly mutual choice. And it's interesting how calm the home became as soon as we decided we were getting divorced and he was moving out. I mean, so much so that we even questioned it, but we're like, no, like there's a reason why this feels right.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very telling, very interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And we're not like in touch per se, but Jeff's met him and we've run into his family sometimes. I became the stepmom to his daughter, his teenage daughter, and she now has babies of her own. And we met him at her baby shower for her first child.
I'm actually friends with him on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, no, he's a nice guy. I loved his family. And I think in a lot of ways, they offered me a family that, you know, I'd lost. Because that's one thing about divorce for a lot of people is that instead of having people show up to a funeral or something like a death of a loved one, they disappear. Half of the family that you had just go away.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most devastating parts of divorce too. You don't just lose your spouse, you lose their family in a lot of
half of your
ways.
world. Right.
So in our book, we talk quite a bit about how that it doesn't have to be that way, that we don't have to choose, that we can be supportive of both parties, loving and kind. Because I actually did experience that with one of the family members in my first marriage and several of the family members in my second. And that meant the world to me. That means so much to a person who's getting divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Exactly. I know that was my experience with my divorce, my first divorce. It was like I lost the whole family. Everybody that was on that side, there was just nobody else that was willing to reach out and even have communication with me. It was this, you're losing everything you've worked for so long. And it's gone, and everything attached to it is gone. So I appreciate you bringing that out there, because I know there's a lot of other listeners that have gone through similar situations and feel the same way.
Right.
So I very much appreciate bringing that up.
And something I think of a lot differently now than I used to is that no matter who you're divorced from, they're still a person. And I think we often objectify the people who we have stories about. Like he was a gaslighting narcissist, or he was an addict, or he was an emotionally abusive, or whatever it is that we say about them tends to put them in a non-human form almost.
Makes them like a cartoon character.
Yeah. And so I think something that I've developed over time is a little bit more compassion, a little bit more understanding, and just an awareness that we're all just human. We were probably all doing the best we knew how. I know that I'm a better spouse for Jeff than I was for either of them because of what I've learned and how I've grown. And just to bring us to the point where Jeff brought us, after getting divorced for the second time, I took the summer to heal. In fact, I insisted that we not do the rush for divorce thing. I wanted that 3 months to not date and to just be on my own and do the, less codependent thing and get ready to date intentionally. I wanted to find the very, very best person for me. I didn't want to just have that person come into my life. I wanted it to be someone I chose, someone that made the most sense out of everyone I would meet. And I wanted to meet a lot of people.
Oh, that's really good.
So that's what I did.
So you don't just go straight to the next emotional high or whatever, saying, okay, that's the next one. I was like, wait, let's think this through a little bit. Okay.
Right. And be willing to say no until I knew it would be awesome. And I told that to Jeff fairly early on. And
first date.
Yeah. I love your first date styles. Yeah, that's good.
Well, and I didn't go on a date with him until about a year after that initial decision to date really intentionally. And there were a lot of men I was dating. And it was interesting because I had this moment in time where I'd met all these wonderful people, but none of them felt quite right. And I was praying about it. And the thought came to me, Joy, none of them are right for you. Mm-hmm. And I remember feeling pretty disappointed and bummed out.
Yeah.
But then I thought, you know what? This is what I want. I want to know if it's not going to be awesome.
Yeah. Because you want awesome. You've already been there twice. So we're going to get ready to take our first break. So I would like you guys to give the contact information, how anybody can get hold of you and get this really awesome book, all this stuff that they're telling you about right now. It's really fun. By the way, my husband John and I was playing the two of you. So he was reading Jeff's part and I was reading Kathy's part. It was really hysterical. We were like, he's like, Jeff has a lot more words than Kathy does. Well,
later in the book, Kathy writes more.
Yeah. It was was just a
Yeah,
riot.
that's great.
We were having fun. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break. Give your contact information real quick, if you would, please.
Okay. Our website is loveinlateryears.com. And our email is the same, loveinlateryears@gmail.com. And that's a great way to get a hold of us. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, podcasting. I mean, all of it. We do all of that.
loveinlateryears@gmail.com is our common email address.
Yeah, we both check that.
Yep.
I love it. That's such a great
and
name.
the book. You mentioned
And
the
the
book.
book.
It's on Amazon. It's an Amazon bestseller.
All
You
right.
can get it
Okay.
in hardback or Kindle version.
And it is
Fantastic.
amazing. Intentional Courtship. What a perfect name. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take our break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Don't leave. You want to hear the rest of the story. There's a whole bunch more to this story. So stay tuned with us.
Yes.
We'll be back in just a few minutes.
All clear. Just a moment while we take the first segment.
Here we go.
All right. Here we go. And 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back, friends. We're so happy to have you here. This has been such a delightful show. And those of you that have been listening already, you're already laughing with us. I am. I mean, we've all been through there. A lot of us, there's been a lot of divorces, a lot of separations, a lot of deaths, all different things, but they're talking about their divorces that they had and what brought them together, which is so awesome. So we're going to have Jeff and Kathy Teichert come right back and start right back there with their courtship once they finally figured it out. And I love the way they say it in the book.
Fantastic.
In the book is
Yes.
awesome. It's so great. This stories and the levels that you guys went through to figure out that he was the right one. It was delightful and fun. So I'm going to turn it back
I
over to
love
you
it.
and let's take it from that point.
Okay,
Great.
so our first date was at an Indian restaurant.
Well, let's back up. We met
Wanna
on
back-
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
We became Facebook friends on St. Patrick's Day. She had posted a thing looking for my lucky charm on that day. without knowing
That's
that she was
great.
Gonna find it.
I like that.
and I made no connection to our friendship. In fact, we didn't even know until 5 years later, Facebook said, friend anniversary, and so that's the only reason we know when we first connected.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
And so, yeah, we met St. Patrick's Day that way. And I remember noticing Kathy before that in mid-singles groups on Facebook. And there's a lot of negativity in those groups. A lot of people bashing on the opposite sex or telling horror stories about formers. And I noticed that Kathy made constructive, positive comments and insightful. And so I appreciated that. And that's why I sent her the friend request.
And that's why I accepted his, is because I noticed the same thing in him. People
Right.
stand
Right.
out. Singles stand out when they do
And they're
that.
positive. Yeah.
But
Get rid of the
I
negative.
saw her picture, when I clicked on her picture to send her the friend request, clicked on her profile, I saw her picture and I thought she looks like a 1940s movie star.
Yeah, she does.
That's awesome.
And
Oh,
then
that's a
the
great
next thing
Those
compliment.
of you that can't see, you need to see a picture of her. So find their
Yep.
website and go on there and find it, or watch this on
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
next thing I thought was, she's going to be important to me. And
Cool.
I can't claim that I knew I was going to marry her then. I don't know if I could have even handled that kind of revelation at that moment.
Mhm.
But I did feel like she was going to be very important to me in the future. From the first time I just laid eyes on her Facebook profile.
Awesome. I
That's
love
so
it.
cool.
That
Yeah,
this.
That's really sweet. And I just, we were saying before the show that we've gathered people into our Love in Later Years community on Facebook. Our group has, I think, 1,200 members and growing now.
That's
And
awesome.
we just
Wonderful.
love the dialogue that's happening there, because it seems like we've attracted all of the people who are insightful, all the people who were more like us and wanting to make more of their lives as single
Right.
people. And anyway, we're just very thrilled with the people that have come into our group and how much we learn from each other.
Fantastic.
Right.
But anyway, it's
Wonderful.
just interesting that we now run a group, but that's how we met. And we don't even know which group. We just know we stood out.
I've
to
heard it
each
said
other in
before.
that way.
They sometimes
Yep.
say that your mess is your message. And I love how you've been able to really sail with that, and that you've got some experiences that people are now resonating with. They're talking about it. They're speaking more, being more insightful. That's a good term there. And that's good because then, you're getting past just the emotions. Do I want this? Left or right, but more, okay, think this through. What step am I going to take? So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it wasn't a direct road to the altar for us.
Oh no.
By no means.
Oh no. In
By
fact, our
no
love
means.
story is at the end of the book, and it's a lot of people's favorite chapter because it is such a roller coaster. And
I was exhausted. We were exhausted. It's like,
So were we.
what?
Yeah.
So we're glad of the outcome. It was like, come on, just get married already. Just get married already. Come on.
well, when you have loved and lost, it can be scary. It really can. And so on our first date, which by the way, he was dressed up in a blazer and he was sitting there with a book that he had inscribed while he was waiting for me to show up. I'd never received a book, let alone an inscribed book on a date.
I love it.
So that's how our courtship
That's great.
started. And then we ordered some Indian food. We often go back to that restaurant, sit at the same table. And I think it says love forever on a little
It does.
heart. Like they always keep up this Valentine's decoration right there at that booth. I don't know why.
That's great.
Because it's your
That's
booth.
great.
It's your booth.
That's
What
right.
have you
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
done?
Anyway,
So-
the first date, actually the first phone conversation was amazing. Probably the best phone conversation I've ever had in my whole life.
Wow.
I mean, he told me stuff he hadn't even told his
My
a lot
second
of
wife.
a whole lot of people.
Wow.
At things that I really resonated with me
Right.
in like a very deep and impactful
Yes.
way. But then I think once we met, we just, I don't know, at least for me, I started like, of course, you always question, is it too good to be true? Well, maybe it is. And, and we didn't know each other that well yet. And
Yeah.
That first date felt like an interview for eternity.
Oh yeah.
And we tell people to avoid the red flag interview, but the whole date was like that in a way. And
Wow.
anyway, I contacted Kathy the next day. I think it was on Facebook, and I asked her if she'd like to do it again, and she wrote back 2 or 3 days later and said no.
Oh,
Oh,
So-
okay.
it must have been
We
the
were off
Indian
to
food.
an auspicious
Ah.
start.
Oh, yeah.
Dagger
I
in
think
the
our
heart.
expectations after that talk and it was just incredibly high, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you had to be careful with it.
That makes sense. That's
So
great.
a couple of weeks later, we started dating again, and we were on again, off again until I don't remember when that conversation at Zupa's was. She invited me to eat with her at Zupa's, and when she offered to pay for the soup, I knew we were in trouble.
Interesting.
Let that be a warning to all you men out there.
Oh man.
So,
Warning flag, warning flag.
So we broke up. She had agreed to be exclusive with somebody else, and then they broke up the next day. But she didn't tell me this for some time.
But I was trying to
Wow.
be brave. I was trying to be brave and choose because I was just dating so many people and I just wanted to not do that at that moment. And I just went away. I just went a certain way and then it just didn't work out.
Okay.
So we started dating
Wow.
again a couple weeks after that, a few weeks after that, I guess.
Which we call our second round.
Right.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Well, we're
So-
running short on time, so we've got to get to the rest of the story. Come on. I know you guys
All right,
made it
well-
together. I know you did because you're together. So
2 days before Christmas, I thought I needed
This
to do
is after
something.
we started dating again.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought I needed to do something. And so I decided to transition that relationship to friendship on the 23rd of December. Jeff was not happy about it. He
Yeah.
didn't respond well either. So I just thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I made a good choice then. Maybe.
Interesting.
Because,
Yeah.
He wasn't very
Right.
nice about it. And then I figured out along the way, I was turning down everybody with serious intentions for people who I didn't really have a future with because I wasn't ready. And I was finding that I wasn't ready because that I knew it because of the choices I was making, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I figured, okay, if I really want what I really want in life, I'm going to have to overcome this. Right. And then
Right.
Jeff, in the meantime, was like, well, I'm just going to try and make the most of my life. And we both did elevating things that year in 2017, the year that we did not date, that we did actually forge a friendship.
Oh,
And go to significant things in each other's life, like his son's mission homecoming.
okay.
He came to a fireside that I played violin for.
Wonderful.
Just
That's great.
Yeah, I
Oh.
spent several days with you around Thanksgiving too.
And I
Yeah.
also attended his great grandmother Minerva Teichert, her art exhibit at BYU.
Yes, you guys heard that name, Minerva Teichert. That is his grandmother.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, they threw a dinner there for our family,
And
so that
he-
was kind of neat.
He knows how much her artwork meant to me, and so
Right.
he invited me, and that was awesome.
Very
I actually, on the way, I got a call from a friend who got engaged, and he told me, he said, when I started going in the right direction for me, it felt right. It felt good. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I haven't felt that yet. So I knew to watch
Oh.
for that. But I was on the way to see Jeff for the first time since we'd ended the dating relationship. And just little things like that, and ultimately he said, whenever you choose the guy and the temple, I'll get you, a special thing. And so it's just like, for me, it was kind of this synchronicity, right?
Right.
And then fast forward, how much time do we have? Because
Just a couple minutes. About
Okay.
5. Mhm.
all right, can I go?
Go.
Okay. So we started spending more time together late in the year in 2017. And I kind of started to think that there might be something there, but I was dating 2 other men that were actually really good prospects. Like I said, we'd both done elevating things that year. We'd both done things to get more ready
Right.
for a companion. And he
Positive
was dating
directions.
2 people. I was dating
I
2
was
people.
trying to choose between 2 people also. And the revelation I kept getting every time I prayed about it is the woman you love is right in front of you, and it's not either of these 2.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
That's
interesting,
strong.
isn't it?
I like that.
Yeah.
I love those kinds of poignant points.
Yeah.
So New Year's Eve, why does it always happen on New Year's Eve? I don't know, but on New Year's Eve, I stayed home. I didn't go to a dance or anything. I stayed home. I watched We Bought a Zoo. I summoned up my
That
20
show.
seconds of insane courage. And I wrote her a handwritten letter asking her to date me for marriage.
Which took more than 20 seconds. The 20
Yes.
seconds was when he put it in the mail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wrote it
But
out.
there
It was just getting it in there, right?
Oh, that's
There,
great.
there were times though, while I was writing it, that I thought maybe I should build in some hedging or some plausible deniability. I'm like, no.
That is
I don't
attorney
wanna say-
talk. That's attorney talk for
That's
all you
attorney
out there that
talk.
are trying to
Yeah.
figure out what he's talking about.
I was tempted to say things like, no, I'm not sure what I want yet, but I'd like to see and all of that. And I said, no, I do know what I want. I'm
Yeah.
putting it down, and it's in the book. It's a very bold letter.
And we
Yeah.
Wow.
never talked about anything more. And we never talked about the dating relationships we had. That was just kind of a thing we had.
Yeah.
And so he didn't know that I was considering between 2 people. And I think if he had been vague at all, I think I probably would have had to, why don't you keep going with those other 2, or, and just not
Right.
complicate things, right?
Okay.
So it turned out to be wise that it was a bold and very clear statement of a letter.
Yeah.
So you knew exactly what he was wanting.
I kind of knew as soon as I got a letter in the mail about that.
Wow.
Yeah. Dear John only takes 1 line on 1 page. So, yeah.
Right.
Different story.
Wow.
6 pages handwritten.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Okay, so we've only got a few minutes. I want you to fast forward because I love your trip. That the trip that you took was so cool. So I want you to just touch on that really quickly, and then let's go on to what you're doing now and how you're helping so many other people with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on our way to that trip, just a couple days ago, we celebrated on the 29th of January our first kiss. It was
Okay.
amazing. I mean, after a whole year of not dating each other, and I was starting to shift my heart towards him. It was kind of this defining moment. And then I had this crazy idea to go to Africa for spring break. My kids were with their dad, and my sister had recently gotten married to an Ethiopian man there, and we hadn't met him.
Oh my.
And Jeff is an attorney with these awesome legal skills. And so he helped with immigration paperwork for them while we were there. And we got engaged on a safari, chasing
my
down
goodness.
wild zebras.
In southern
Okay.
Ethiopia.
Now, who else can say that? Seriously. I mean, really.
I love
was
it.
Beautiful. It was so fun.
Yeah, I'll
That's
never forget it as long
fantastic.
as I live.
It was a pre-honeymoon. We figured if we still just like really want to be together after 10 days, 24/7,
Yeah.
maybe we could get married.
Best
You know,
decision we ever made.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And best advice too, spend time with that person and see if you can see him in all different ways and then go, whoa, I really still like him.
And
Okay.
Right.
we chose the 11th of May to get married because we love the synergistic effect of 1 plus
Yeah.
1 equaling not 2, but 11.
11. Uh-huh.
Which, we're more together. We're so much more together than we are even individually added together.
Oh,
And
so
I like that. 1 plus 1 is
Yeah.
11. That makes sense.
Well,
I see the
and
point.
then a few days later, Jeff figured out that we were exactly 11 years and 11 months apart to the day.
And then 3 years
Wow.
later, we figured out we got our patriarchal blessings 11 years and 11 months apart to the day.
It
From
just
each other.
keeps getting better and better,
Wow.
doesn't it?
I remember you
Exactly.
mentioning that. I love that. That's fantastic. Yes.
So good thing you did that in Africa. Way to go. Okay.
Gosh, that is incredible.
So let's jump forward now because, okay, so you got married. I know that wasn't much time, right? You guys were on like a deadline trying to get your
We got
wedding
married May
done.
11th after we got back, I think
Yeah. it
end of
was like-
March, 1st of April, something
Yeah, I was
like
gonna
that.
say it was only like what, 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Even
It was
that.
a great wedding. We planned it quick and it was wonderful.
And thanks, President Monson, for speeding up the amount of time you need to get your ceiling clearance.
Wow.
Big difference there, isn't that? That's
Fantastic.
awesome. Okay, let's get forward to Lily, to 11 later years. I love that name. That is such a great name.
That is.
So tell us what that is about, how that's helping people. And maybe if you got just a quick minute, tell us one of your miracle stories. I mean, we
Yes.
already know yours. What is your miracle story of your group or your work or the things you've done that you've been able to see
Well,
happen?
Love to hear it.
Let me wind up one thought on our story that also leads into Lily.
Okay.
I just feel like I look back at, the hard luck story I told you guys at the beginning of this, and I think I married this amazing woman. If I hadn't lost my first wife and my second wife to divorce, I wouldn't have Kathy. I wouldn't have her 2 sons. If I hadn't gotten laid off from my corporate job out in Texas, I might still be running oil and gas titles out in East Texas rather than advising the governor and the attorney general on important constitutional law issues, which is much more of a passion for me. And so, I mean,
Wow.
when I look at all of these tragedies, they ended up opening the door to the greatest blessings I have, other than my other 2
Well,
kids as
an
well.
intentional courtship wouldn't exist. Lily wouldn't exist. Every time we do
Yeah.
anything together, we're like, can you imagine doing this with anyone else? I mean, it
Wow.
just makes sense, right?
Exactly.
He started the book, Intentional Courtship, 5 years before we met. And it's the book he wished he would have had. So we started writing it, but then he decided he wasn't ready to finish it. And then I joined him, and in 4 months, we wrote the whole thing.
That's awesome.
But then
Perfect.
over a year,
Love
it
it.
took us over a year to perfect it. And while we were
Right.
perfecting it, we grew love in later years. And as a part of that process, we started our podcast, Lily Pod.
Yep.
We're on most major networks. 2 words, Lily Pod.
Lily Pod,
And-
everybody.
yeah.
Lily Pod.
Lily Pod.
Pod.
And
Like
in more recent,
podcast pod.
yes, Lily
Right.
Pod. Right. And then in recent months, we've been really growing our YouTube channel. We've been putting out a professional video every week and shorts. So we'd love for people to go and subscribe to Lily Tube.
Great.
You can research it so you can find all the links on our website, loveinlateryears.com. Or you can also search us up on the YouTube app under Love in Later Years.
We're also coaches, and we both enjoy helping mid-singles to navigate the pain and perils of divorce, as well as help to coach them on relationships and dating. And we do premarital coaching as well.
So Jeff, really quickly, for those of people that don't know what mid-singles means, what is mid-singles? You referred to quite a few times. What is that?
So anyone beyond the possibility of a first marriage in their 20s is who we would consider a mid-single. Someone who their life and their love life gets a little more complicated because it usually includes either never having been married later into life, or not yet married later into life, or widowhood or divorce,
right.
Kids, custody, all that stuff. So we like to tackle all of the issues that get complex with those situations. And so we serve singles of all kinds.
Is there an age limit?
Who have not yet had a chance to be married, those who have lost a spouse. Many people experienced both, but yeah, we love coaching. We both have our undergraduate degrees in family and human development, and then we went on and got our life coach certification. So we're in a good position to serve and help recover those who are going through similar things to what we did, to recover faster and to create the life that they want.
Yeah, if you have the ache,
awesome.
It doesn't need to go on for 4 years like it did for me.
Interesting.
Come and talk to us. We've got a lot of great strategies.
Yeah, we could have healed a lot faster if we'd known the things we know now. And
Okay.
that's what we want to help people to do.
The ache. Okay.
That's awesome. So all of our listeners out there, we've only got a few more minutes left. Again, just check out everything. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching your videos, and give us a little shout out on the news report you just did, because I think this is really cool and people can go find that, right?
This was a little bit of a miracle. Somebody just found us. One of the producers at KSL TV5 here in Utah just found us. I don't know how they found us. I think they said maybe Instagram.
On Instagram, she thinks.
Anyway, they just emailed us and said, would you like to come do a segment on, I think it was
navigating the world of second chances.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And we'd love to. And within a week, we were on TV. That was so cool.
Now, is that posted on your website? Is that on your website? They can go and watch that?
Not yet. It will be, though.
We don't have it on our YouTube channel yet, but we've posted links on all our social media.
It's also, it's in the Love in Later Years group on Facebook as well. So you have to scroll down a little bit, but not too far.
Well, and I was telling you before the program, that Instagram now has this cool thing. So now we're posting a link to our podcast every week, and a link to our YouTube videos every week, and then our stories, and then sharing them highlighting them in our, so like right on our cover page of our Instagram page, you can actually go find a bunch of links to our podcasts and our YouTube videos.
That is so
very cool.
And then I hope anyone on Facebook will come join our group.
And I've seen it. That's awesome.
Amazing singles group.
I get them all.
I do.
It's fair for later married couples too. So it's actually for all of us to learn and grow from each other, because we all have those complex issues. I mean, even with us being married, we're still dealing sometimes with past traumas, and healing them as they come up again.
We all are. That's a good point.
We have great tools to work with, to help people so those traumas don't blow up their relationships.
Right, which is so
because
important.
They can.
Oh, they totally can. If you let things fester. Oh, so true. So I want everybody to make sure that you're getting on there. Give your contact one more time. We're almost out of time. I want everybody to be writing this down, because I have thoroughly enjoyed watching and getting on the links and following this. It's like, I've been there. I've done that. Oh, this is, I can resonate with that. Or, I did not know that.
We also send out a weekly Lily letter to our subscribers. So if they go to loveinlateryears.com, put in their email address, we'll just email them a nice elevating, short little thing each week, along with a link to our current podcast and video.
That's awesome. I look forward to that every week. It's like, there it is.
And our contact information is on there as well as what we offer. Actually, Jeff has written more than 200 articles that are on Lily Gems. And and he also now writes a weekly article for Meridian magazine.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
and
that's
look for, I think it's meridian.com, but anyway, Google Meridian Magazine, and I write the mid-singles column every week now.
Yeah.
That's
And then
so
if you want
cool.
to email us, loveinlateryears@gmail.com. Same as our website, but add @gmail.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
so easy. What a perfect name. I think it's so easy. It's like, yes, this is fun. You
Well,
guys
if
are
you're
delightful.
27 and divorced or something, don't think this isn't you, because if you're beyond the possibility of that first marriage in your 20s, we want you in our group,
And
and
if
we
you're
can help you.
and if you're not ready to date yet, same thing, because the first 8 chapters of intentional courtship are about healing.
Right.
And
You've got to
coming
do
a
that
place of
first.
peace.
Yep.
Yes, and that's on that's available from our website, and also right on Amazon. Intentional Courtship. We hope a lot of people will pick it up and read it, because people have been telling us that it's been life-changing for them.
You guys
It
are
is. I'm going to hold this
fantastic.
up again real quick. We've only got a few seconds left. So I want to tell you, Jeff and Kathy, love you guys. Thank you so much. Doug, you're my hero. I love you. And you guys
Love
have
you
an
guys.
absolutely fantastic day. Remember to be happy and healthy.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
You.
All clear. Great job today, everyone.